No.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ed Parcaut with Brian Galke. I almost did it in Galke.
There you go.
Yeah, do it once and you're messed up forever. Aces53. At least I got that right.
Yeah.
It must be a Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, something.
Early in the week.
It's been, I got actually busy this week. I'm not saying I wasn't busy last week, but it's just funny how all of a sudden, boom, I say I work probably 12 to 14-hour days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I work like 2 hours, 3 hours, and then 4 hours each of those days, and then occasionally on the weekends. But I mean, it's actual work, what my normal day job is.
Yeah.
Not counting my other stuff. Yeah.
All your extracurricular activities.
Well, I leave my Thursday, Friday open without a ton of appointments. Monday through Wednesday, I'm slammed, except for our morning on Thursday, of course, at 10 a.m. and my dailies. But other than that, I keep it open.
Yeah.
I only do 13 things a week. No big deal.
There you go.
Yeah. Anyway, what are we going to talk about? Last week we were going to talk about men's health. And
I want to talk about men's mental health. Just because so many people have been posting about it on Instagram, on LinkedIn, all that kind of stuff. And I'll share a little bit like what I went through, but I do think it's important. I saw a really crazy statistic yesterday. Let me see if I can find it. It was something like a man commits suicide every 2 minutes. I mean, it was a mind blowing one. Let me see if I can find it.
Veterans, I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, it was just. Let me see. I reposted it, so let me go look on my page real fast. It was just a shocking statistic. Okay, here it is. Let me find it. All right, so close down his picture. Where is the Seymour? Okay, so it was a guy who did a post, and he said here his name is David Atkins, and here was his quote: 600,000 men per year, 58,000 per month, 14,000 per week, 2,000 per day, 86 per hour, and 2 men per minute take their own life. And it just said because of the pain they felt they couldn't talk about, because they believed the lie that asking for help is weakness. And it just brought up a good point. It's really odd to be a guy because you're just given generic things. And I'm not proclaiming that it's any easier to be a woman, because women are just told, help take care of the kids, do these things, support your man. Men were just told, be the provider, and not really given any instructions on what that means. And then it's a different world. Women share, men like hold on to things. And it is interesting to find out how many people are struggling behind the scenes and don't know it. So I did a post the other week. I was just in a bad mental spot, business, like a gig canceled. Somebody wasn't calling me back, all this kind of stuff. Then something in my personal life also went on. And I was just in a bad place for a week or two. Like I couldn't focus, couldn't do anything. And a guy named Sean reached out to me. He saw me speak at an event earlier, and he's like, man, I could just tell you're in a bad spot. Come spend 3 days with me in Arizona and let me work with you. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I'm like, I don't know. But man, that 3 days made a world of difference in going and spending time with him. And it was a combination of things. It was the different things we did nervous system reset, breath work, cold plunges, which I already do that every day anyway. But it was also just somebody reaching out. And that's kind of what I want to talk about a little bit is, are you reaching out to people in business and life or whatever and checking on your friends? And it doesn't have to be a guy. It can be a girl also. But we forget to check in on people because we check online. And that's where it's getting to be a little bit scary, because people are feeling more and more isolated because people aren't reaching out to them. They're just going, oh, well, I'll just check on them on their LinkedIn or on their Instagram or their Facebook. But are we really taking the time to check in on the people we care about?
Yeah, I mean, I don't do a Facebook's check in. I think if I'm going to call you, I'm going to text you or call you.
Right.
And I'll probably call you because I want to make sure I can hear your voice, or at least I'm going to leave a voicemail, for actual voicemail that you can hear. And I think that's the biggest problem today is people don't know how to connect.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think it started with COVID, right? But then as people get busy, like you were just talking about, working 13, 14-hour days, that we sometimes think, oh, well, later when I'm on the toilet or I'm in bed scrolling, I'll just see what my friends are up to. And I'm seeing more and more of a disconnect with people, in that people who used to be friends, used to meet up, now they don't, because they text or, they just, again, check on their Instagram, go, oh, okay, well, that person's good. But social media is just everybody's highlight reel. It's what they want to share, not what they're afraid to share. I was actually on a Zoom call earlier this morning. It's a mastermind I'm in that's for speakers. The guy came up and he talked about the struggle of, highs and lows, just like every type of job. we'll be on, hey, I just got this gig. Awesome. Okay, I'm unemployed again. And then, oh, hey, I got this gig that pays more. And then that gig is gone again. And he was talking about, almost giving up multiple times at it. And he was afraid to tell people that he was struggling as a speaker, because then people think, oh, well, should I hire him or not? Are they going to be in business? So I think we all have these fronts that we have to put on for people. And I didn't realize it's visible to people on the outside, but two things happened. That same guy, I spoke in Phoenix on Tuesday and flew straight to Charlotte. Now, and that's where I met Sean, the guy I went to visit in Arizona. And then Wednesday, I was speaking to a client. I already put this on LinkedIn last week, so I'm not afraid to share it. But I got done speaking. We went to dinner. It's kind of one of those perks is you go as the speaker, they take you to dinner and they talk to you. And the organizer goes, "Are you happy?" And I was like, "Shit, no." But I didn't think it was visible to other people. And, had she not asked me the question, I would have thought I was fooling everybody. But I'm glad she asked the question. So I just thought, you know what? It is Men's Mental Health Month. Why not just put it out there to the audience and just say, hey, look, are people struggling? If you're struggling, it's okay to tell people you're struggling. You don't have to hold it all inside. Now, there's different ways to handle things. Like I put this in the post. Rehashing something you're hurt by is okay because you're getting to dissipate the pain out, but you're also just festering that wound over and over again versus what are you actually trying to do to fix that wound? Are you taking steps? Are you calling people for pity that you're just going to keep retelling the same story? Or are you asking people, hey, listen to me, and then what would you do type of information?
I totally agree. I mean, I always look like I'm unhappy, but I'm not. So, that's.
Well, you told the story last week of you just had this event to help veterans, right, with everything they're going through. And unfortunately, somebody didn't show up and they had a tragic ending.
Yep. Then somebody else showed up and they committed suicide.
Yeah.
They attempted it, they brought him back, and they still haven't dealt with the stuff. And and when that happens, you got to go through a lot of stuff. Like, oh yeah, go back to work, go back to everything. The government kind of gets involved. So
yeah, well, especially when it's to that level. And that's so we just thought, you know what? I know we always talk about business and branding and everything else, but we got to remember that all this is about being a person, and there's going to be high highs and low lows on everything. And my message is, look, don't be afraid to share your shit. And that is, if you're going through something, don't make it a pity party for attention, but share what you're going through so that you don't feel isolated and alone. Because this day and age with Zoom calls, everything else, we're not spending as much time around people, and just, I was lucky that Sean reached out to me and offered me a solution. But had he not, what would I have done? I probably would have sat and wallowed for a little bit longer. So it's just one of those things of something changed my life, and I just wanted to talk about it this week. So,
well, you really wanted to talk about last week, but I wouldn't let you.
Yeah, I know you had other plans. You want to talk about your pod again?
Shut up! I wasn't trying to talk about my pod. I was just talking. I had no problem going into it, but I was just trying to get what was going on out. Yeah. And I think it's very important to talk to somebody. But here's like, I'm going through my VA benefit stuff, and one of the stuff is stuff I dealt with in the military, and it had to do with what I did as a work and everything. And the problem is when you talk to some of these people, they say, I am a representative that has to report things. Mm-hmm. So then you don't tell them shit.
Right.
And luckily the person I have, she's like, oh, first appointment, I only tell them your age, your weight, just that's it. And then after that, they get nothing because they don't need to know what we're talking about, because if they did, that could be people won't open up. People won't talk about stuff. And it's so true. And I could see that. And that's why people don't open up. They're afraid to open up and tell you what's really going on. But I was talking to a person the other day, mm-hmm. and he attempted to commit suicide.
Yeah.
And he tried to call, he called somebody. Mm-hmm. And this is one of those situations where the gun jammed, and I've heard so many stories from vets that
that gives me goosebumps even talking about it.
Multiple times these people's guns have jammed, and they're like, we shouldn't have, but it did. And this guy, he's like, the person he called, he knew that person wouldn't pick up,
so he picked the person that wouldn't. Yeah.
Yes. And it's important to us to reach out to people just to check to see how they're doing.
Yeah.
I did a thing for helping the brave, which was reach out to 22 people a week.
Mm-hmm.
which is difficult for most
Right.
people, but it could be a video to them through a text. It could be whatever, just checking in, want to make sure you're okay. I was thinking about you. I want to let you know. Boom.
Mhm.
How many people can you send that to?
Mine's my drive time. So when I'm driving, like I joined a gym that's 20 minutes away from here because it's usually when I drop kiddo off, traffic coming back sucks. So I joined a gym up there, and now it's summer's out, and on days that I have kiddo, it's a little bit of a commute, and I just call people. I FaceTime them, call them, just check in with them. But to your point, you can make one message and send it to multiple people. Greg Reed, who have we ever had Greg Reed on? If not,
No.
we need to have him on.
No, we have not.
He does what he calls text roulette, and that is he opens up his text on his phone, he just scrolls, and then whoever he clicks on, that's who he sends a message to. And just like, hey, what's going on in their world? That way it's not always, well, who do I keep talking to? So every once in a while I'll do that. I'll just go open up my text messages and scroll for a while and be like, who haven't I talked to in a year? And you never know if that just one little thing pops in or not. And we talked about this before, but like a year ago, I was about to quit. And then somebody sent me this.
You were going to quit what?
Speaking and go back to a job. So this lady sent me this, and she attended an event I went to, and it was really nice talking about the event, showed a picture of me speaking and said, keep going. And that was literally on a day I was like, screw it, I'm going to go just reapply for jobs because it's easier to have a salary than it is to chase business.
Yeah. See, I've been in sales forever. So it's always chasing business is my life. But the last 2 years was bad. But then I looked at, did this happen to me or this happened for me?
Right.
And once I took, it's how you frame stuff. What are you smiling about, mister?
No, I'm just laughing. It's the same thing you're saying is it could have been a pity party, right? But you turned it around by saying
I was pity for a year. I was pissed. I was pissed at what the administration, everything that was going on because they messed up just because they didn't like the last person. They screwed everything up for everybody else.
Right.
And I'm just talking about me and my industry. And that's after you work your ass off to build an amazing team, build a perfect system, and then bam, that happens. Well, for the longest time, I was told you need to have multiple streams of income besides this. But I was like, dude, I can make so much money in the mortgage industry. It's like I only need so much money. And then now I'm like, okay, I'm tired of the so much money, and then no, so that's what I've been working on.
Sorry, my screen just went black there. Okay, now you're back.
You're fine. You just.
I've never had it go dark like that in the middle of it. It's like, okay.
Maybe it's telling you something.
Maybe so. It's time to black out. Nah.
No, but it's important to take care of yourself. Even myself, I have a huge gym in my garage and other stuff, but it's been with the remodel we've done and everything. It's taken me out. So I was just doing rucking and other stuff, but then. With my knee and other stuff, I haven't been able to do that. So I'm like, start riding. And, as much as I like riding, I do not like the Peloton inside.
Yeah.
I can only watch so much TV while I'm riding. I much rather ride outside, but it's so crazy. I mean, it's prime example. I talked about this or yesterday morning on Facebook, in my morning show. My wife and I were walking down this trail that we always walk down, and these 4 punk kids, the last one through decides to pop a wheelie, and he focuses on us. Like he's trying to get us to move out of his way. We're on our side. He's supposed to be on the other side. And it was a dick. And I'm sorry. And I was like, my wife was like, said some things, and then he was cussing and all this stuff. And then they came back and they're taunting us and all this. It's just, what I'm getting at is this world is weird right now. So you have to do everything you possibly can to make yourself better in this messed up world. And get around people who care about you. And if you need somebody to talk to, you can call me anytime, 209-404-1915, anytime. Not 2 o'clock in the morning. I might not pick up because I sleep soundly.
Well, and the reason why I think this is even more important is look at the amount of layoffs that are going on. And a lot of people, their identity is tied to their job.
Every guy's identity is tied to his job.
Right. And there's a lot of women that are that way too. They earn a certain title, certain pay. It was always interesting to watch when somebody got let go, because when they were applying for new jobs, they're like, but I used to make this. And they couldn't figure, it was almost like taking a lower salary. So let's just say they were making 150,000 and they were offered a job at 125. They'd turn it down and go, I'm used to making 150. But they go 6 months to a year without a job. And you're like, okay, but that 25,000, difference, break it down to a monthly salary. But we get so wrapped around because we're taught early on, not who's Ed or who's Brian, but, oh, what's your job? What do you do? What's your title? What company do you work for? and it f's with us, you know. And
well,
then,
I mean, for every $10,000 that you need in a salary, that's a month.
yeah.
And I'm going to tell you right now, I looked for over the past couple of years, just watching stuff, and I saw the same jobs being posted. And then people, I know people were applying, but they were not actually hiring. They just had them out there in case, if they saw where the market was going to get better, then they would start taking those job applications.
Well, that's what they were saying with people applying. I just read an article on LinkedIn about people are like, can I at least get a response? Like people are putting in these things and they're not even hearing back like a rejection or anything. And then, now because we're in such a litigious society, if somebody doesn't get a job, they won't tell you why they didn't hire you. It's so I just think mental health is worth talking about, especially with it being this month. You just got done doing the event for veterans. Now it's Men's Mental Health Month. And of course, women also have the same challenges. And even more so, like you will never understand like what maternal guilt feels like. Like we'd never carried a kid, so there's challenges for everybody. Just, I think it's important. We talk about branding and making yourself known and everything else, but we need to talk about like, you're still a person at the end of the day. Yes, we're talking about growing businesses. Yes, we're talking about using AI, but are you taking care of yourself is just as important as are you creating a brand for yourself? And that could be, if you're struggling, who are you talking to? There's no shame in getting a therapist. I always thought, I'm good. I don't need any of that crap. Until I went through my divorce and it was part of the mandatory thing because we had a kid in Texas and I'm like, we're going to find out all her effed up stuff. And I was like, ooh, I got some stuff too, and for some people, you don't even need that. For some people, you just need camaraderie, go join a CrossFit gym or go join a group training, something where you feel like you're a part of something. The big trends of what they're seeing right now is all these running clubs, pickleball, it's just joining a tribe, joining a community so you don't feel isolated and alone.
Yeah. And that's why I joined the gym, to get out, and I started swimming again. I started doing a bunch of stuff I used to do. Yes, I can swim in my backyard, but it's like real quick turns.
Yeah.
It's too, my pool's so small. It was a joke. So it's not 25 yards.
Yeah.
It's like, 4. And it's just take too long to get it done.
And go and just find whatever it is that makes you happy. You were talking about before, you were cycling or you went rucking, I'll go back to the thing I did in Arizona. If you would have told me, hey, this guy's going to invite you out to Arizona, he's going to put you through all these weird machines and things, and you'll leave 72 hours later feeling better, I would have thought there's no way. Because I'd gone, like I said, during a divorce, I'd gone through counseling. Why does my screen keep going black? This is the weirdest thing. I'd gone through counseling, and that's, you talk for an hour and then you got to wait a week. And then you talk for an hour and you got to wait a week. This was intense, 3 days worth of stuff. And so the level of transformation happens so much faster. So maybe you don't need to go sign up for a therapist. Maybe you just need to go get away for the weekend with friends and go sit around a bonfire or go rent a boat, go do something. But the point is just to be honest with people about where you're at, check in on your friends. I always like to say, when in doubt, reach out. If somebody pops my mind, I'm shooting them a text message. If they respond back, it's a bonus. Yeah.
And maybe it's not your friends you reach out to.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what the problem is. People don't want other friends to know what's wrong with them or that they don't have it under. So maybe there's somebody else you can reach out to that will talk to you.
Oh yeah, that's true. I still talk to old coworkers who neither one of us work for the company anymore. And there's a nice isolation between that. And to your point, going to Arizona, this dude, Sean, when I say this dude, it makes it sound like it was bad. He spoke for an hour. I spoke for an hour. And then he had all these cool devices that we're playing with, like PEMF, which is pulsating electromagnetic fields. So they like push electricity through your body and stuff. And I thought, these are just kind of fun. And the whole reason we started talking is he was going to do a cold plunge the next morning. He's like, you going to come for the cold plunge? I said, no, I got to go to Charlotte to go speak, but I got a cold plunge at home. He's like, all right, cool. Can I give you breath work advice for when you're doing it? I'm like, yeah. And then he reached out, and that's when it changed to, hey, come with me for 3 days. Again, I would have thought woo-woo stuff and I wouldn't have gone, but sorry. I'm glad I did.
Don't want to put us down in the bad boys area because you're cussing. So what was the biggest takeaway from the 3 days?
Just how much stuff was I holding on to and overthinking versus just living in the present. But it was also, there's a good book called The Body Keeps Score. And that was, what are you holding on to? Like weird little things I would have thought of. Like he's a chiropractor by trade first, and then learned all these other things on it. But like he was showing me how little movement there was from my waist to my back. Like when putting me down on a table and like try to move me, it was like, you know. So it was chiropractic stuff. It was combination things, but the body really does hold on to things. We don't realize it. And it's kind of crazy that by working on the body, you're working on the mind at the same time. And that's why, you could take it down to a non-medical level. That's why we feel better after we work out. So maybe that's the therapy you need, is go join a gym. Like you and I talked about this the other day. You have everything at home, but you actually are enjoying the new gym that you're going to and being around people. You said the old gym, you knew everybody in your gym. So it was like a social outlet also. And you're re-enjoying being in a social environment while you're improving your health at the same time.
But not being bothered by anybody because I don't know anybody.
Right. That's like, we've talked about this before. I go and work from Starbucks a few times a week because I need to be around people. That's one thing I realize is I don't do well in isolation. But the challenge is if you work from home and you work out early because you want to not have to sit with the crowds and everybody at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever, then your only social outlet after 5 o'clock is happy hour. And I do like happy hour. And don't get me wrong, I like my martinis and I like drinking and bourbon and old fashions. But there's got to be more than that, So just finding little things to do to get yourself out and around other people. Like I did a HIIT class this morning. Normally I just go and do my own weights. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do a HIIT class. Well, there's a boxing class right before it. So next week I'm going to go do a boxing class and a HIIT class because it's not things I would normally do. But it's a group environment. People high five each other and fist bump and whatever. And that was kind of a fun thing versus just AirPods in, work out, maybe say hi to one person and get out.
Yeah, so I use those Schultz or whatever they're called, the ones that go the bone, you go through the bone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those are the best. That way you can still hear things if you want to,
That's still crazy to me that the bone induction stuff works, but who knows?
I want to get a pair for swimming.
Yeah.
Because the one I bought was not I was going to get the one for swimming because when I was doing cold plunges, and then Marsh was like, it doesn't sound as good as the other one. Well, now that I'm swimming, I want to get the ones that are waterproof.
Made for it. Yeah. I always get in when I cold plunge. I just pull the AirPods out, dunk in, dunk back, AirPods back in. I usually listen to something, and then Sean has me doing mantras and stuff like that and breath work now that I didn't know to do before. But it's just interesting. So yeah, the big takeaway is that you asked about. One, stop living in the past, right? Okay, so I can get that deal. The slave's avoiding me. Great. Where do I go from here? And we don't realize how much we focus on the past, how much it's holding us down. And I can't even go into all the different like stuff we did, because there was even things like there was one just thing I couldn't get out of my head nonstop. He's like, okay, do this. And then he did, like, when I say weird things, like he went like that. And it was a very quick response I had. He's like, yeah, you've got a primal response. And then he helped me work on not to have that immediate reaction to stuff. So it's just interesting, all these different parts of us that we're not taught about at all. And I would have blown off as woo-woo that I'm now a big believer in.
Whatever helps, whatever works.
Yeah. Well, what did the firewalk do for people? It overcame their beliefs, right?
Right. Yeah. Limiting beliefs. Yep.
Yeah.
And, and a few people burned their feet because they were being, they didn't focus. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, because everything's, it's so easy to walk on coals. No, it's not. No. Not if you don't do it right and you don't focus. And you have to, it wasn't like major burn. It was a couple of little blisters, if that. But, and it's like, okay, you have to focus. You can't just go, I did it 2 other times last year. I know how to do it this time. No, you need to focus again and get back into it and do everything. And that's the difference. And I think it's so important that people, we did so many different things. Board breaking, you write on what you're trying to, what you're holding on to and what you're trying to get through and all that. And you put that and you break through. That's just a symbol of what you're doing. Right. It's just to reconnect with, who you are and get, what are you trying? What's that fire represent that you're walking across?
Yes. And the reason I bring that up is, look, I know there's a lot of guys who don't want to go to therapy. I've been to therapy. I think everybody should try it, especially when you're going through tough times. But faster solutions are things like the fire walk and other things that you have that mental sticking point until you do something kind of crazy like that. And when I say crazy, in a good way, that changes your perspective on things of what's possible, what's not possible. And sometimes even seeing other people accomplish those tasks had a bigger impact on me than when I was doing it. I did the Walked on Fire with Tony Robbins years ago. And once you do it at whatever level of class you've taken with Tony Robbins, you can volunteer. And so when I went back in as a volunteer, I almost learned more because I got to be outside of the process, but I got to see how it worked. So there's multiple things to get out there, but look, everybody struggles at times. Don't be afraid. Find somebody to confide in, because holding it in isn't stoic. It's not cool. It's one of those things that eventually you're going to self-implode or self-destruct. We all need somebody at some time. And back to your point, there's a fear of shame of, what will people say about me? Nobody effing cares, but if you don't share it and you end up in a bad spot, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, it's not. So get help somewhere.
Yeah.
And like I said, and we'll take your phone call. We don't care.
Yeah.
I can't believe you didn't call me and tell me you're having issues, man.
You don't
have to answer that.
I want to answer it for other people. Like, it was a lot that hit at once, and I didn't know who to talk to about how, right? And that was it. It wasn't a thing. It was like 3 things, and one of them was a pretty personal one. And it was just like, I was still trying to figure it out, but it was also like, how many people do I share it with? It's a weird thing that we go through when we're talking about stuff. So
I know, but right there, you just said you didn't know who to share to and who to talk to. And so that's the same thing that other people have. They don't know who to talk to.
That's why I'm sharing it. Like, that's why after I got back from Arizona, I put that post out there. Like, was it scary to put out there? Yes. Are there people who probably laughed at it? Yes. Do I care? No. Because I put it out there. I already got, when I say I got fixed or healed, I already got what I needed to be different and to feel better. I put it out there for people who felt like they were alone and isolated, and they were the only ones going through something. And you and I talk about this all the time, as like on social media. What we're supposed to do is post about what we're doing, right? So they see me at events, they see me on stage, there's all these things. Everybody thinks life is perfect, and it's far from perfect. Everybody has challenges that you don't know what they're dealing with. And that's the other reason I put it out there, because yes, I'll put me on a stage. Yes, I'll put me in front of someone. But if you don't share the downside, then you're not being authentic. You're only sharing what you think other people want to see, or what you want other people to see, instead of what's really going on all the time.
I have a feeling eventually people will be tired of social media.
Oh, who was I listening to the other day?
Just because it's so fake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's so much fakeness on there.
Well, it's going to get worse. Somebody was talking
with the AI. Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah. There's a actual movie about the AI and disclosing all the bad stuff. That was what's his name? Mission Impossible.
Yes.
How the AI takes out there and it's changing how everybody sees everything and making it and messing with so many people, and they don't believe everything, and then they have to take it down in the whole 9 yards. And that's what I think AI is going to do to social media. It's going to make it to what we want to see.
Right.
And I mean, you look at the stuff that's out there that almost looks real. It's pretty scary.
It is. I cannot remember who I was watching or what event I went to, but they believe that not that long from now, it'll be AI posting for AI versus people posting anymore, right? Because everybody wants an AI agent to do their stuff. And so then to your point is, social media will be bots posting for other bots to read and comment back versus it actually being people. So it was what was his name? His name is Icon. It was the event I went to in Florida. And he said he believes there's only 3 years left of social media where it's actually people on social media.
You mean who's actually putting the post out there?
Yeah, who's actually doing the post, who's actually reading it, scrolling it. Let me see if I have his notes here on my phone also, because it was some pretty crazy. I was like, ooh, that's an interesting thought. I think
the only place that won't be there will be YouTube and LinkedIn.
That's a good point.
So if I was anybody, I'd be focusing on YouTube and LinkedIn.
So it wasn't on that one. Hold on. I know I took notes on this. Let me find this guy.
I mean, you gotta think. I mean, Facebook. I don't really put. I post some stuff, but I do more lives than I post.
Man, I must not. I thought I had it on here, but yeah, this guy basically came out and said he's got 3 years left. I'll have to go get a copy of the recording, because it really made me think, like, oh, wow, do we really only have 3 years left of social media? And then what happens? But he does believe that AI is coming to such a point that it'll just be bots talking to bots. So I'll go see if I get access to that video. But his name was Icon, and he hosts that Creator Fest, the one I asked you about.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this guy had the AI glasses, and he's showing us everything they can do now, and the Ray-Bans, which I'm gonna go buy a pair, but that's for a totally different reason. But yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see where social media and everything goes. And going back full circle to where we started, I saw Microsoft laid off like 6,000 people. Yeah. So I'm just curious. Let me get out of here.
Well, you got to look at it. Cosm did a post a while back that he knows people who are so successful who are has lost everything because of how AI's changed everything, and a bunch of other things have changed everything with jobs, losing their jobs and everything else.
Right.
So that's why he started that mastermind thing he started.
So I'm asking ChatGPT right now, how many people have lost their jobs due to AI in 2025 alone? Let's see what it comes back with. So a recent report suggests 300,000 jobs were lost in 2025 in sectors like tech, media, customer service, and retail. And they're all the first broad wave of AI-driven layoffs. And then it says by 2030, nearly 50% of entry-level white-collar jobs will vanish due to AI. Yeah. So imagine all the kids are in school. How do they get jobs? And I saw another article on LinkedIn about people are basically having to take lesser pay to keep their jobs because companies are going, hey, we can lay you off or we can reduce your pay. And people are taking less pay to stay there. So let me see. So how many workers were displaced? Workers affected by AI tasks, 14% were displaced, according to SEO.ai. Yeah, 50% of jobs will be at risk in the next 5 years for entry-level white collar. And then so far, they believe 300,000 jobs have been laid off. So think of 300,000 people who don't have an identity right now or may not have an identity.
Well, I think eventually they'll be doing all fast food will be done by AI.
Yeah.
And machines that can do it better and whatever. And then they'll just have one person overseeing, making sure the machines aren't having problems.
Well, and that's, I was talking with some guys last night, and one guy is going to invest in the Tesla cab. Have you seen this?
I've heard about it.
Okay. So it's a 2-person cab, no steering wheel, anything like that. It's basically going to be like Uber, but an autonomous driver. The cars are $30,000 a piece. And then you can buy the robots to keep and maintain and clean the car. So you're looking at like, he was looking at a fleet of like 10 cars and then having 4 robots that clean the cars. And so that's, roughly a $300,000 investment. But if based on Uber type pricing, they can run 24 hours a day, except for when they need to charge. He was predicting to make his money back in like 4.5 months. So that leaves, 7.5 months of profit.
Right.
Yeah.
No, so I mean, it's got, yeah, but I mean, they're going to get to a point where people still want to have control.
Agreed. Well, it's like we talked about the other day. When you call, what do you want to do? You want to get to a live person as soon as you can. If you're trying to fix, like change an airline or whatever,
anything.
It's so frustrating to have to go through the freaking robot, to change your flight on AA. You're like, I need to talk to a person to explain the whole thing. I know what you want to do, but you can't help me,
Well, it's like I ordered my medicine for one of the things I have, and they came back and it had to be reapproved by my doctor, and so they allow you to order it early, and then it goes back. Oh, you have to wait a week because it's too soon, right? So they said you have to wait. So then all of a sudden now it says I can't do it till August. I'm like, okay, there's a problem here.
Yes,
somebody messed up with this approval. So I how hard it was to get in to talk to somebody, and even talking to that person still couldn't fix it for me.
Yeah, because there's AI rules and things in the computer that happened to me. Since we've talked about before, like I'm on testosterone TRT. Well, like if I've gotten it, but then I'm going on a trip and I'm gonna be gone for a long period of time. Like, can I reorder? They're like, no. I'm like, yeah, but I'm gonna be overseas, and they're like, well, your doctor can rewrite you a new prescription and up it all. But I get why it's there, controlled substances and everything else, but it just seems like things are kind of a pain. But I do want to go back to full circle with where we started, right?
Men's health.
Yeah. Because we're starting to drift. Men's mental health, people's mental health. Look, everybody's got down moments. Everybody's got things that they're struggling with. Talk to your friends. Reach out to somebody. and then at the same time, what are you doing to reach out and check on other people from time to time, right? Can you shoot them a video? Ed says he calls people because he wants to hear their voice. What are we doing to check in on each other? It's more important than it's ever been. And just the stats we started this whole thing off with, which was, and granted, this is just because it's Men's Health Month. We'll get another stat on what it is for people overall, but 600,000 men per year, 58,000 a month, 14,000 a week, 2,000 a day, 86 men per hour commit suicide. And if you're having those thoughts, you're having those feelings, you may not be so lucky as to have the gun jam like Ed was talking about before. So what are you doing to reach out to people before you reach into the drawer is the question.
Yep.
And on the opposite side, all of us see when a friend kind of goes quiet. So what are we doing to reach out to those friends who have gone quiet? Like, we've all got our own stuff we're dealing with, but what's an odd or weird behavior that a friend is going through that's out of the norm for them? And if something's going on, what are you doing to reach out and figure it out? So
that's right.
Yeah.
Well, you want to call it a day?
Yeah, I think we're good. We'll talk later on the Joker. He responded back while we were talking. So,
okay.
All right. So with that, once again, Ed, thank you for joining us today. I know I got to take over because you took over last week.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. But it's Aces53 with Ed Parcaut and myself. So we're here every Tuesday at noon Central, 10 a.m. Pacific. And then on Thursday, we're back at that same time. But we have a special guest that we call a Joker. That is someone with a skill or talent that we want to talk about, interview to help you guys out. So if you know someone that you think would be good to be on the show, reach out and let us know. If you want to be on the show, same thing. Just reach out to Ed or I and let us know what do you want to talk about. And then we can kind of work it into our weekly schedule. But thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that you did. I know you opened up.
Yes.
All right. Make it a great day.